Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be doing a collage using offcuts of paper. So in my past art journaling pages you've seen me do this sort of technique before, but it's always been torn up pieces of paper. I tend to stay away from using cut pieces of paper, but I've got a journal box, as you can see here, a collage box full of just border pieces that are pieces when I've been trimming off gel prints or cutting something up. You can see an old vintage photo there, or bits of magazine. I just stick them into this box for, you know, if I'm creating magazine borders or doing something. So I figured that I would have a go at creating a collage using cut pieces of paper, and I quite like how it turned out. Now this is a technique that you could definitely use for doing card making. It's one that, particularly with alcohol ink offcuts, I use quite a lot for doing card making. It'd be really cool for doing scrapbook pages as well, with all the different offcuts of scrapbooking papers that you've got. So this is just a really handy little trick to have, and having a little box like this next to my guillotine is fantastic too, because I've got a tidy place where my offcuts can go, and then when I'm doing something later on I can just stick them in. So as you can see here, it's a whole variety of things I'm sticking in. I've got printables that I've sort of trimmed off, and bits from magazines, and bits from previous art journal pages I've done, and old bits of text, some free news, not newspapers, postcards that you collect at cafes that have interesting prints on them. So everything that I've sort of been cutting out recently has gone into that little box, and I've just glued it down onto my page. Anywhere I've got a gap on my page, I'm just going back in with smaller pieces that I've either torn off the ends just to fill in all the little pieces. And when I've finished, I'm going to trim off all the extra overhang. Now I've been quite generous with my matte medium or glue as I've been going along. The reason for that is because this is a variety of different materials and different thicknesses of paper. I've got some really thick, more cardboard type papers, and I've got some really thin book papers here. So I just want to make sure that everything is glued down and secure. I have been doing some art journaling classes recently, so I had some of these sayings printed out onto tissue paper that was floating around, so I decided to stick those down as well. And it was one of those moments where it was just sticking stuff down, so I like the stop thinking, just paint sort of sentiment. This is some gold foil. Again, it's you know, the stuff that you put through your ink machine, so it is actually heat activated foil but when you put it onto your gel medium, when it's tacky, it leaves the shine there and gives you this beautiful sort of shimmer in the background. So I just leave it for a little bit. You can get your scraper, as you can see here, and sort of rub it over the background, and you get these sort of really cool random bits of gold all over your page, which you don't need to plan. And the good thing about it is if you do add paint or anything over the top, it acts as a little bit of a resist, so you still see those gold flecks coming through when you've finished. So it's a technique that I use an awful lot, and as you can see with that gold bit of foil, you know, you can keep using it until it's completely gone. And the more you use it, the more random the foiling effect is going to be in the background. So I'm just finishing off putting the gold foil over the top and making sure that everything's glued down really, really well. I can still see some little spots on my page that have just some tacky glue left over, so that's why I'm going back in and finishing those off. Then I'm going to go in and trim off the sides. Please excuse my arm being in the way. I must have been grabbing something from on top of my shelf next to me. So just using a pair of scissors to trim off the edges, just to make everything neat and tidy. And I find the little Tim Holtz scissors work really, really well for that. They're just small enough that you can sort of get into those bits and pieces. Now, I'm trying really hard, and you can see that I do keep a lot of my scraps, but these scraps do end up in the bin because just sometimes you have to cut your losses. I've used up a lot and I'm not going back in and doing it again. This is a Dina Wakley Collage Collective book, if you haven't seen it before. It's just full of some beautiful, beautiful artwork, all done by Dina Wakley. So I've just gone through and found some pages that I really like. I really like these faces, and I thought I might use those in the page in some way, shape or form. But because they were slightly smaller than the book itself, which is 6 by 6, I would need to think of some way to ground them, and I just wasn't 100% sure how I was going to do that. I also found this little figure of a collaged lady using some cut out bits and pieces. I thought she could work on my page well. And on one of the other pages it had this sort of circular shape which I cut out, and I decided that I'd go for circles. So with the leftover pieces that I had on my page, I decided to just cut out some rough circles that I was going to stick down on my page. Now, it's either a good or bad thing. The pages in the Collage Collective are actually double-sided, so there's images on both sides that you have to decide which side you're going to use, which I find really, really tough because I love both sides. The bonus is that you do get 2 pages in the Collage Collective. You get a paperweight and a cardboard weight, or if you're really extra like me, you just buy 2 books, so you know you're going to cut into one and you can have one that's precious and you can just flip through. So I'm just going through the scraps that I had cut out from that book to cut up these circles. Up the top you can see that pink semicircle, which I've used to frame the blue, because the blue was sort of blending into the background a little bit. And I'm sort of overlapping some of the shapes, so cutting out a smaller circle and gluing that in as well. To glue them all down, I'm using the collage medium, because again this is slightly thicker weight than usual, so you just want to make sure that it's all glued down properly. You'll also notice that I'm folding the pages or the circles before I'm gluing them down, again just to make sure that everything glues down nice and flat. If I tried to glue that down as one piece, not folded, and then folded it afterwards, I'd have a gap or it might lift up. So by putting that little fold in it beforehand just helps everything glue down. You can see it's gone cloudy because I've used quite a bit of gel medium over the top, but once you actually dry it, it dries clear, so it all comes back. One of the final things I'm going to do excuse me, is get my Stabilo All pencil out and just do some really sketchy lines and scribbly lines over the circles, just to pop them out from the background. And sort of to tie in that sketchy nature, particularly from this lady. I'm also going over her with the lines of the Stabilo All pencil. I find that it helps make it look a little bit more hand-drawn, and you can see there I've also extended down the end of her body, so it grounds it to the bottom of the page instead of just sort of floating above those words. Because I really liked the writing on the top of the page, this is the how, this is the now, I thought I'd add in some of my own writing and put in down the bottom, this is the why. And I did this page after I've been doing the 100-day project, and I was just getting a little bit, sort of everything was kind of the same and I wasn't sure what I was doing. So this page was kind of my way of reminding, this is why I do it, this is the how, this is the now, and this is why I do it. I do it because I have fun, it makes me feel happy, and it's just what I love doing. So it was nice to sort of have that reminder in my book, and it's really sort of sketchy and grungy, and that's what I really like about it. I'm also going over, because I was finding the little tissue words that I'd glue down into the background sort of just blended into the background a lot, so I'm just getting my white Posca paint pen, the fine one, and just doing a little bit of shadowing around the words just to pop them out from the background a bit. You can see me on my scrap piece of paper over on the side here. I'm just priming my pen just so I make sure it's working. Those scrap bits that I've got on the side again are going to go into my collage bin that I can use the next time I'm going to be doing some collage. So nothing really gets wasted. Everything is used in some way, shape or form, whether it's to sketch on or to glue down or to draw over, it all gets used. So this is pretty much the final bit of the page, me just sort of working out where I'm going to go, and here is a close-up. So the final little bit that I didn't mention was I just used some foam mark making stamps with some coloured ink over the top, just to add in a bit more interest into the background. So that's the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye for now.